So, this is the continuation of the contextual update on homelessness that we started with the world exclusive Siloti language report in the main, featuring a man called Amir Uddin, living in the streets of London, but having lived generally in Tower Hamlets for the last 18, 19 years. Now, Amiruddin recognized me in the streets as we were crossing each other in Stratford, East London, on Tuesday evening or Tuesday morning or lunchtime. And he said that he had seen me at various campaign events, including events held in the Altab Ali Park. So he sat down with me in Stratford and explained to me how he had been struggling. And he mentioned the fact that he had tried to get the Tower Hamlets, the local council, house him in a decent place. And Tower Hamlets Council has behaved in a way that we discussed, but I'm going to recap on the discussion. A woman called Antonia, met him and offered a studio flat at a location in Kilburn. Now, Kilburn is not Amiruddin's community, and he knows nothing about Kilburn. He's never been to Kilburn, and Kilburn is not accessible to his child, which is a daughter, and he knows nobody in Kilburn. Now, Antonia fobbed him off at the reception at the Marlbury Place, which is still the Tower Hamlets Council's so-called head office or town hall. And while he was waiting for a proper answer as to his request for housing, Amiruddin was approached by a security man not far from the foyer reception of Marlbury Place. And the security man approached him and said words to the effect that he, Amiruddin, could not find any home or housing solution from Tower Hamlets Council. He should look elsewhere. Think about that. This was a security man. What on earth was he talking about? What was his right? What was his legal status to even talk to Amiruddin about housing? And how did he know what Amiruddin was there for at the reception? And who had contacted the security man? This is happening in December 2022. In May 2022, Tower Hamlets Council had a bogus election, which bogus election was staged by the Labour Party committing political suicide and allowing Lutfur Rahman to make a surface again in the post of elected mayor. Now, Amiruddin said to me live on the program yesterday, well, not yesterday, today is Thursday, so day before yesterday, Tuesday, that he had met Lutfur. Now, Lutfur is an expression in Silot language meaning brother Luthur. Now, Amiruddin had no way of knowing Luthur as Luthur Bai. So I asked him, did he know him? He couldn't give me any reference as to where, in a context of work or other business, he had met or he might have met Luthur. The only thing that he could say, and the only thing that actually is true, is that he was used by Luthor or his gang during the election, so called, to canvass for him. Then, since the election of the 5th of May 2022, Lutfur Rahman had failed to return Amiruddin's many or several phone calls. This is something that Lutfur Rahman does usually. A man called Muhammad Ali told me in January or June, was it January or June? Say he said to me in 2011, let's say, and he mentioned Lutfur Rahman by using swear words and mentioned Lutfur Rahman by referring to Lutfur Rahman's caste. The caste is not a recognized concept in Muslim communities. It's a relic from the Hindu kind of culture. But it is there. It is there very much in the ordinary usages in the community. So Muhammad Ali said to me that I helped Lutfur Rahman in the estate that I live in, and I made a decisive difference in terms of getting him significant number of votes in October 2010. That was Muhammad Ali talking to me in 2011 at the entrance to the Royal London Hospital. Both of us bumped into each other at the Royal London Hospital because of the reported arrival at that place of the 5-time convicted fraudster, criminal, Mahi Ferdaus Jalil, who is a supporter and a colluder of Lutfur Rahman. However, Muhammad Ali said to me face to face that by not returning the calls after the election of October 2010, Lutfur Rahman was showing his true identity in terms of caste and whatever. I'm not repeating the literary words that Muhammad Ali mentioned. People in the Siloti community know what expressions are used about Lutfur Rahman. So when Amiruddin told me on Tuesday that he had helped Lutfur Bhai, but since the election, Lutfur Bhai has not returned his calls, my memory sprang back to 2011 and the image of Muhammad Ali came back before me. Now, Muhammad Ali is somebody I have known since he was one of the group of people in 1989 who requested my intervention, which I successfully made in the Cannon Street Road against the then Towners Council corruption bureaucracy. It is a place called Montefiore House, not Montefiore Center. Montefiore House was in Cannon Street Road in 1989. And Montefiore Center is still in the Hanbury Street. I think the name Montefiore is a Jewish man who was an educator or educationalist in the East End of London. And I think in memory of him, Montefiore House and Montefiore Center have been named and they're still there. Well, Montefiore House, the action to defend the Montefiore house was sabotaged by the crooks in Armless Council at that time in 1999, which was the Lib Dem criminals that were in control. And the neighborhood system that had been created by the Lib Dems was the neighborhood that covered the Montefiore house in Canossier Road was represented by a racist criminal liar, Ian Outen. That shitbag lied and sabotaged the community's effort to keep the Montefiore house and make it into an educational program center that I devised. So that's how I know Muhammad Ali. And that is why Muhammad Ali instantly felt confident in telling me how dishonest and ungrateful Lutfur Rahman had been. So Amir Uddin was in the same situation of ingratitude exhibited by Lutfur Rahman. Now, I said to Amiruddin on the live broadcast, although his vision could not be seen, but his voice could be heard. I said that Lutfur Rahman had been identified by Richard Morey in what we can call in Siloti, in paraphrased, Muskiashi Beiman. Muskiashi ei Beiman, ige muskiashe ar Beimani mate. That's what in Siloti can be translated the actual words that Richard Morey spoke about or wrote about his experience of Lutfur Rahman. He said that he could not trust Lutfur Rahman at all. Now, when Tower Hamlets Council says that it has got various things in the pipeline dealing with housing solution, it does that by lying. It does that by lying. Whether the post of executive mayor is held by Lutfur Rahman or it is held by John Biggs or it is held by Lutfur Rahman as the Labour group leader before the mayor's sister came on, or it is held by Abismal Abbas Uddin Elias Halal. Tower Hamlets Council remains a festering, corrupt council. And the behavior of Antonia and the security man illustrates the corruption and the dishonesty by the council, that means by Lutfur Rahman. Lutfur Rahman got rid of significant amount of Tower Hamlets Council owned properties. Some of the properties that he got rid of were severely undervalued. And I think that some of those undervaluing, who actually did the undervaluing, would come back to haunt Lutfur Rahman, and Lutfur Rahman would be disgraced more permanently than he was disgraced by the Mori ruling. Because what the observers, the commentators, people who have commented on Lutfur Rahman, have failed to understand is that despite the limitations of the Price Waterhouse Cooper report, because Price Waterhouse Cooper, or PwC, is itself a dodgy accounting firm. But despite the fact that it is a dodgy accounting firm, it had collected enough evidence to show that Lutfur Rahman was the one that made the decisions the corrupt decision, the criminal decisions, to ignore the advice of some of the non corrupt employees of the council when he got rid of the properties, undervaluing the properties. Now, this is something that Mori said. Well, this is something that the Pickles, actually pointed out in his speech against Luthroman on the 4th of November 2014 in the House of Commons. The Pickles said that the PwC report found that Lutfur personally made the decisions. That's where the actual crux is. Lutfur Rahman personally made the decisions to get rid of the properties at highly undervalued price, which raises a number of serious criminal questions. Going back to the behavior of the regime that was in place in Town Council before the mayor system came on and was responsible as the rubber stamp for Tony Blair's agenda to hand over billions of pounds worth of council properties to the gang of criminals called Harka, Popla Harka. The decisions are made by the criminals as leader of the council, as leading councillors, etc., on the alleged ground that if they didn't hand over the properties to Popla Harka, they themselves personally would be held liable. That is a complete criminal lie because there was no law that could actually be brought in to punish them for refusing to hand over council properties to a gang of thugs. So you can look at the list of what I have just outlined here and see that housing crisis is created at various levels, various stages by the local council. So logically, Amir Uddin would not have received any cooperation from Lutfur Rahman because Lutfur Rahman's agenda remains an agenda for the crooks, an agenda to maintain an artificially highly exaggerated number of homeless people on the waiting list in Town Bara, and to exploit that highly exaggerated list of people without housing in negotiations, in bids made to the central government for central government funding. All of this has been happening in relation to Tower Hamlets Council, in relation to Newham Council, in relation to other inner city boroughs, without any audit, democratic audit, either by the local councils, elected councillors, or by the House of Commons or the House of Peers. Of course, the peers cannot be expected to do the democratic DG rigor. So, what I'm saying here is that housing crisis, homeless crisis is created by Town Council, by Newham Council, by other councils. And that is part 3 or part C of the contextual examination of the crisis of homelessness in Tower Hamlets. Now, the Financial Times has reported in the last probably 3 days or maybe 2 days the declaration by this woman, Bas, Democratic mayor of Los Angeles has vowed to solve the housing problem, homelessness problem. I'm going to go off camera for 2 minutes, I think, at most, and I'll be back with the Financial Times if I can get my hand on it. This is on page 8 of the Financial Times of Tuesday, the 20th of December 2022. And the headline is typically completely fucking ignorant. It says LA mayor draws on emergency powers to tackle homeless crisis. That is fucking stupid. Because homeless crisis is not something that has appeared as part of the unpredictable natural event. Homelessness crisis is created by crooks in the council, crooks in the businesses, crooks in the political parties. So this is a piece by Christopher Grimes. What a name! And it shows the new mayor, and it says Bas, the new mayor, has worked to rebuild a good faith partnership with the country that had eroded in the last couple of years. Now she's a kind of clapper for Joe Biden, and Joe Biden returned the favor by kind of putting her on the list of one of his possible running mates. And there is a caption to a picture showing Anabas, the mayor. Mayor Karen Bass, sorry, not Anabas, Karen Bass, below at an affordable housing site. Fuck off. Now, Anabas was a woman in Waltham's store, in the Waltham Forest site of the Northeast London Polytechnic in the 1970s, when I was the elected editor, publications editor of the Student Union. And the vehicle was NEPA, Northeast Polytechnic Activists Monitor. Anna Bass was a woman who was in the 1970s, remember, reproductive printing machine. And I had several meetings with her in order to persuade her to let me use her facilities to print some of the publicity for the student union publications, not the actual magazine, but the leaflets circulating, various invitations, deadlines, and so on. So this is the second time I have come across the name Bass. That was Anna Bass in 1976, 77. And this is Karen Bass. And the Karen Bass looks like she is of mixed race origin. And being already listed as a Joe Biden supporter within the Democratic Party, she is not likely to be solving the problem of homelessness. None of them is likely to be solving the housing problem, because this has been caused by the parties and by the town halls and so on. This is the Financial Times that I'm carrying, and it's on page 8 of the Financial Times, and it is a typically stupid, ignorant piece. And this woman, as I keep referring to her as the Lebanese-born Muslim woman, Rola Khalaf, the editor of the Financial Times. I mean, she doesn't bring any truth to the corrupt and criminal lying tradition of the Financial Times. She doesn't know what is going on at the level where the likes of Amir Uddin experience the corruption perpetrated by the likes of Antonia and the security man in Town Council. She doesn't know the handover giving away of billions of pounds worth of housing stock belonging to Tower Hamlets Council, that is Tower Hamlets public, took place with the active collusion with Tony Blair's agenda by the then Tower Hamlets Council regime. She has no idea about the series that the Channel 4 corruptly carried out called the How to Get a Council Housing. Now I'll rephrase that or restate that. How to get a council house. That was a corrupt project and it was corruptly executed. None of the town councils elected councillor appeared on the program. No member of a conceivable campaign for housing rights from Tower Hamlets or anywhere else was shown. It was a job corruptly plotted and executed by Channel 4 crooks. And the criminal, Kevan Collins. Kevan Collins is a criminal who used to be a teacher, school teacher in Tower Hamlets, before getting on board the greasy pole in Tower Hamlets Council and ending up as chief executive. This criminal, Kevan Collins, was one of the key criminals that took part in the bureaucratic legitimization of the case for elected mayor at the expense of democracy in Tower Hamlets. And this criminal did a number of crimes, including, I think, but that particular thing that I'm about to refer to needs fact checking because the event that I'm about to describe may have happened just after Kevan Collins left the council. It was the de facto termination of the employment contract of a woman called Carol Marchant. Now, Carol Marchant was suddenly out of her post in September 2011. Now, Marchant had been there for a very long time in the council. And I had, over many years, I had communications with her to a point where I felt that she trusted me and she confided in me. Many things, not of serious threat to society or whatever, but things that are interesting but not shared usually. So Carol Marchant was dealing with the conspiracy still ongoing by the benefits section in Tower Hamlets Council, at that time fronted by a criminal, racist, liar, crook called Steve Hill. And the Tower Hamlets community housing, fronted at that time by the criminal, racist, liar, crook Michael Tyrrell, the terrible. So the two of those were conspiring very hard in a way that the Southwark Council's employees concerned were identified by the judge in his judgment dated the 14th of October 2014 as having conspired to evict this man, known only as AA, to evict him illegally and to steal his digital data and so on. This is how Michael Tyrrell, the criminal, Steve Hill, the criminal, conspired to effect an eviction that shouldn't have happened, but did happen. The fact that it did happen in September 2011 is connected with the sacking. All these circumstances point to Carol Marchant, who was the chief administrator in the chief executive's office. Carol Marchant's being sacked because she was the only one in all of Tarm's Council's administration in September 2011 that was passing information from one section to the other, demanding action on the evidence by these sections. I mean, normal thing in Tarm's Council is that the opposite happens. Like Afsana Begum lied when she was employed later. She was employed by Lutfur Rahman for one period and Ohid Ahmad shortly. And Afsana Begum repeated the lies told to her by Lutfur Rahman and by Ohid Ahmad. In contrast to Afsana Begum's lying record and propensities, Carol Marchant not only defied the liars and lies, but she insisted on the proper conduct. And for that, the crooks decided to give her the sack. And once Carol Marchant was removed from the scene, the conspiracy being run by Steve Hill, Mike Tyrrell, and Lutfur Rahman went ahead. And Lutfur Rahman was aided and abetted by his most grateful fan, Rabina Khan. Remember the video tribute that she paid to him in 2015 at a do held at the Water Lily Center on the 30th of April 2015, a week after Richard Morey ousted Lutfur Rahman. Rabina Khan shamelessly, dishonestly, disgracefully stood next to Lutfur Rahman and repeatedly said, "This man made me." My goodness, whatever did he do that constituted her being made by him? What had he made him? We don't know that because she didn't go into the details. What we do know was that Rabina Khan was inserted in the so-called cabinet by Lutfur Rahman at the expense of the housing rights of the community, of the public, of the people. And in her capacity as the inserted housing cabinet member, in July 2013, I think July 2013, Rabina Khan mouthed a pack of lies. A pack of lies that she must have been rehearsing for quite a while to address my one sentence question, which I put to the cabinet farce, because they said that the proper cabinet meeting did not include public speeches, public members of the public making a representation, asking a question. We shall deal with that in due course another time, but that was an absurd, typical kind of status to relegate the participation of the most vigorous part of the democracy from the undemocratic existence of the corrupt mayor regime. So when I put the question, Rabina Khan delivered the rehearsed answer, which was an absolute pathetic pack of lies. At that meeting, present was the criminal racist liar Colin Cormack, also Alibor Chaudhry. All of those I shall be updating on. Contextually, this is the world exclusive, factual, evidence based report about housing crisis, homeless crisis created by local councils, either in Tower Hamlets or in Los Angeles. And we condemn Rola Khalaf for running that stupid piece promoting Karen Bass in Los Angeles. This part we shall bring to an end 41 minutes, just over 41 minutes at at 05, is it 05:29 GMT on Thursday, 22nd of December 2022.